going on, gardeners? It's Tuesday, July 5th, and the dog days of summer are here on the southeastern coast of North Carolina, and that can mean only one thing. It is time to harvest some onions. Now, on today's video, I'm going to show you how to harvest, cure, and store onions for up to 6 months for long-term food storage and food security. And in fact, if you have ideal storage conditions and you're growing the right varieties, some of these onions can store for as long as 1 year. So let's get into it. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell to receive new video notifications, and check out our Amazon storefront and spread shop in the video description for a list of the gardening products I use and awesome custom designed apparel and other gear. Your support is greatly appreciated. Onions are one of those things that I think pretty much every gardener should be growing as long as they have space, because not only are they a foundational food in our kitchen and appear in practically everything we cook, they're really easy to grow. Because they have such a strong odor to them, they naturally have very few pests. In fact, they can actually keep pests away from some of your other plants. And in recent videos, I've showed you how to interplant onions with other plants, which I will link to above, because they are a great measure of natural ways to keep pests out of your garden. Now, aside from being very easy to grow, they also have a very long storage life when they are actually cured and stored properly. So harvesting onions in summer can last you all throughout the year into the winter when you do everything correctly. So I'm going to take you to my onion patch and I'm going to show you exactly how to harvest them. Onions are different than many of the things we grow in our garden because they don't mature simply based on a set number of days to maturity. They actually mature based on day length. So it's very important that you plant your onions at the right time of year. Now, I've made many tutorials on how you need to select your onions based on your latitude and your day length. But long story short, you should time your onions so they hit their max days to maturity right around the summer solstice, because that is when the day length is longest, and that is when you will get maximum bulbing. So for me, I start my onion seeds in early to mid-January, and I plant them out in my garden right around March 1st. Onions are frost tolerant, so for me, that makes me hit maturity right around the end of June, beginning of July, and that's why I have such massive bulbing here. It is just great timing. Now, many of you have also asked, when should I harvest my onions? And you know your onions are ready for harvest when the tops start dying back like this. They have all fallen to the ground. In fact, I probably let them go just a little bit too long. Usually there should still be a little bit of green left in them. But the way that you pick onions is actually very important. Don't simply grab the top and pull them up, because this top will probably rip off. What you actually want to do is you want to stick your hand underneath the onion and they will just pop right out of the ground. And look at that monster right there. That is a perfect looking onion. So I'm going to go ahead and pick every single onion in this bed right now. And that right there is a ton of onions. And in case you're wondering what variety they are yellow Granex. They are a short day variety. They are famously known as Vidalia onions when they're grown in Vidalia, Georgia. So just check out the size of these monsters. Absolutely beautiful, gorgeous onions. They must weigh close to a pound each, some of these. And they're easily one of my favorite onions. They are great down here in the southeast, so if you need a short day onion, I highly recommend them. They won't grow well up north where you need a long day variety. And another cool thing, I pulled one of these early, but this is a red onion. And this is, it takes a little bit longer for this red Amposta variety. So it hasn't quite matured all the way yet, so it still needs another couple of weeks, but you can see just how nice this is as well. So now that I showed you how easy it is to harvest so many onions, let's show you how to cure them. Now, the first step of the curing process is to always make sure you harvest your onions on a dry day. You want to make sure it is not going to rain all day, and then pull your onions and lay them out on a concrete surface or some other impervious surface so they can dry out in the sun the very first day. You want to make sure that you get any residual moisture off of these onions from the natural dampness of the soil. Now, here in the southeast, we're in the heart of thunderstorm season. However, I picked an afternoon to harvest these that I know for a fact we aren't going to get any rain. So I'm going to let these sit until the evening, baking in the sun. Just one word of warning, if you have a dog like I do, make sure that you do not have your dog outside near these onions, because onions are extremely toxic to dogs. So make sure if you bring your dog out that you don't let the dog anywhere near the onions. After the onions spend that initial afternoon sitting in the sun drying out, they then have to be transferred to another location to begin the curing process. You want to leave them in a warm location that is about 75 to 80 degrees and is dry and breezy. So some good locations may be a garage, a covered porch, or some type of breezeway that meet those conditions. Here in the southeast, where it is very hot and humid right now, the best place I can come up with to cure my onions is my garage. So they're sitting on this tarp, spread out into a single layer, taking care not to bump or bruise the individual onions. Then I have them sitting at the edge of my garage right here with the garage door open, and they're going to sit here with really good airflow but out of direct sunlight where it's nice and breezy in order to complete the curing process. And it's going to take somewhere around 2 to 3 weeks to complete this cure, or until the tops and necks feel dry to the touch and the outer onion skin is shrunken and papery. So what I'm going to do is I'll wait the 2 to 3 weeks as I discussed, and then we will check back in on these onions. It's Monday, July 18th, and all of the onions have been drying in the exact same spot in my garage ever since. And as you can see, they have dried out considerably. The stems, the necks here, they are nice and papery, and everything looks like they have adequately dried despite our high humidity. So once the necks are tight and dry and the stems contain no moisture, you can use scissors to trim the roots off the bottom of each bulb, and the leaves can also be trimmed to within 1 inch of the bulb. Once you do that, you can cull any onions that still have green necks or have bruised or damaged bulbs. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut the stem off about 1 inch off the top. I'm going to remove any roots. Most of these stems on these Vidalia onions, they can be cut off as well. And once you're done cutting off the roots and cutting off the stems to within 1 inch, you can begin storing them in bags. Now here are all of the onions after I've removed the tops and the roots from them. They are now officially ready for storage. And if it looks like I have a lot less onions now than I did when I started this process 2 weeks ago, that's because I've been eating them pretty aggressively along the way because I use them a lot for cooking. So for the storage process, what you want to do is you want to bring the onions indoors and store them in mesh bags, a bushel basket, or a flat cardboard box with some holes punched in it, and ideally you will store them in a cool, dark place between 32 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Make sure you choose a storage area that has good air circulation and limited exposure to sun so your onions don't deteriorate prematurely or sprout. Now I know a lot of us don't have that perfect environment to store our onions right now. I definitely don't, so I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. Now, if you have a whole mess of onions that you need to store, I recommend actually going out and buying mesh onion storage bags. I will link to them in my Amazon storefront under garden accessories if you need some of them. However, because I don't have that many onions to store at the moment, because I haven't harvested my red onions just yet, I'm simply going to use these organza bags to store them that I typically use to protect large fruits like tomatoes from damage from bugs. So they are those drawstring party favor bags that you usually see out in weddings that they put the rice in. I have these linked in my Amazon storefront as well if you want these. So I'm simply going to fill these up and I'm going to hang them on a hook in my garage. You can see I already have garlic that is stored right there in organza bags. They provide great airflow and they will help the onions stay under storage for as long as possible. Now all of my onions have been bagged up and they're hanging right where the edge of my garage is, which I normally leave open during the day so they will get maximum airflow, which is exactly what you want. Now, how long will these onions last? Well, that depends on the type of onion that you're growing, whether they are sweet onions or they are pungent onions. Pungent onions are usually smaller and they really make you cry when you cut into them. Pungent onions, when they are stored in the ideal temperature and in darkness, like in a root cellar, they can last for as long as 10 to 12 months. That compound in them that really makes you cry actually preserves them for a very long time. So if you have the perfect conditions and you're growing pungent onions, they can be food storage for you for up to a year. These onions right here are sweet onions. They will not last nearly as long. Generally speaking, if you store them under the ideal conditions, they'll last about 1 to 3 months. I am not storing them in a 40-degree Fahrenheit root cellar underground. I'm storing them out in the open in my very hot and humid garage with as much airflow from the outside as I can provide them, because we do not have basements where I live due to the high water table and our proximity to the coast. So realistically speaking, these will probably last somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks for me. So I will probably be able to get somewhere within a month and a half's worth of food out of this. I will bring them in as necessary as I need them. And that right there is how you can cure and store onions for long-term food storage. So everybody, I sure hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you're notified when we release more videos like these. If you're curious about any of the products that I used in this video, like these storage bags, or any of the products that I use for real in my garden in general, they are all linked down below in my Amazon storefront link, down in the video description, and while you're there, check out my Spreadshop link for custom merch if you want to support the channel with custom-made apparel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see all of you again on the next video. Hey Dale, Daddy has to go to the store and go grocery shopping. Would you like me to give you your Kong? Ooh, you want his Kong full of peanut butters. Oh, ho, ho, it's gonna be so good. There he goes. There goes Mr. Dale. Okay, buddy. Oh, we'll bring you your Kong. This is gonna be so good. Got all that frozen peanut butter in there. Yes. Ready, buddy? Oh, he's so excited. Are you ready? All right, Dale. Enjoy, enjoy that while I'm away. Anything for peanut butter.